The Institute of Choice is part of the UniSA Business School, University of South Australia Business School. Our research facility focuses predominantly on choice and decision making. And that's a big remit. If you think of all the choices that individuals make on a daily basis, in fact, we don't normally think about it. They're conscious and subconsciously as well. But when you take it into a commercial, government, societal level, then those decisions that they're wanting to understand are very complex, and there's lots of interrelations that need to be studied. A lot of the time when organisations are making decisions, they may do research, and a lot of them do research. However, the type of research they're doing, they're not always looking at the trade-offs that a consumer or the public are willing to make. When you're asked in a focus group or in surveys what you'd like to do, everyone always chooses the optimal scenario. But when you then present them with a scenario where they're trading off whether it's the value of a particular product or service or other factors that are going to come into it, we do make these decisions subconsciously, but when you're actually reading about it and having to think about it, you're getting a lot more robust data that we can model. A lot of the work we do is quantitative, but we do inform the quantitative work with qualitative work up front. So we're mixing both of them, and the end result and the output is a lot more robust demand modelling. Most organisations that come to see us because they're having problems using the traditional forms of research to address their challenges. And that's why they come to us, because we really are at the frontier of choice modelling. There are choice modellers in the world that work on a daily basis with commercial organisations. However, we're always working at the frontier to see how do we improve those processes, those methodologies. So the organisations that come to us are really wanting the frontier. The types of considerations that some of our team have worked in this space, and the university as a whole has one of their key research themes is healthy ageing. So it is a focus of UniSA. Some of the areas that have come up are mobility. So how do you actually get around? So you have to think about the transport choices for an ageing community. Health is an obvious one. Independence, providing independence for ageing individuals. The social networks, that's another interesting area. Friendships, community engagement, relationships, that comes up often in our experiments. We ask people to trade off these factors. So what's more important to you? Is it having the independence over your health situation? Maybe you do suffer from some health problems, but you'd rather, there was an example of a golfer who was suffering from certain conditions, and the medication he was given meant he couldn't actually get out to the golf course. His choice was lower my life expectancy, but give me the quality of life that I want, which means I want to be on the golf course. So these are the trade-offs that we actually look at. It's looking at what's important to you. What are you willing to trade off? Is it your independence versus your health situation? Is it security and safety versus mobility? So it's actually looking at the factors that are important to you and what you're willing to trade off. In an ideal world, we'd have everything satisfied. Unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world, so you need to understand what's more important to you. Well, coming from a research facility, I'm obviously going to say research. Talk to your customers. It doesn't always have to be complex research, but get out into the community and talk to not only your customers, but prospective customers. And in the aged care environment, it's obviously, I would say, people that are younger might be the people that are responsible for their parents' care. So we have a range of different research methodologies that we use. Some of them are rather simple and accessible to medium-sized organisations. Others are far more complex. It depends on what the organisation wants, but my suggestion is get out and talk to your customers, whether it's through a proper research organisation or yourselves. Yes, the three-circle strategic growth model was based on some theory that was developed out of the University of Notre Dame in the US. And the Institute and myself personally have been very closely involved with Professor Joe Urbany, who developed this methodology. The framework was commercialised recently, and so now it is accessible. What it is, it actually, if you think of a Venn diagram, so three circles, the one circle is actually what the customers are looking for. The second circle is what the customers think of your product or service or organisation. And the third circle is what your customers feel about competitors in the market. Now, what the platform does, through a series of processes, you develop a survey which is distributed either through social media, email, any form of distribution. It collects the data, and in real time it populates with what we call choice factors, which are the choices that consumers are thinking of when they're making the decision. It populates these three circles. The data comes in and the algorithms are computed in the background, and the three circles are populated with these choice factors. And in real time, you can tell what your consumer is thinking. Now, the overlaps in the middle of the three circles, and I don't have a picture here to show you, can tell you where your competitive advantage is, or where your competitors have an advantage, or where there's areas where both yourself and your competitors are delivering on the customer needs. The interesting area is the white space, where the customer needs are articulated, however, neither yourself or the competitor is delivering on. And there's other areas that you can look at from a growth strategy perspective, looking at what are you delivering that the customer actually is not interested in having, or what are you delivering that your competitor is delivering better. So it gives you a lot of quick insights, and you can make some evidence-based decisions, and it is a cost-effective and very quick tool that you can take to market. I think otherwise you are going to lose your customers unless you're talking to your customers and you're doing that continuous research and keeping abreast of what's happening. And unfortunately, technology has also meant that things change very rapidly. And unless you stay up to date with things, there will be another competitor out there that is talking to your customers, and they will address what the unmet needs are. So I would say critical. Brand equity is made up of different constructs or different factors, and Professor Geoffrey Swait from our organisation actually wrote this theory and is highly cited in this area. So although you may feel that you're delivering on a lot of these constructs, the perfect example is VW recently. They still have a great product, but they lost trust. And unless you address that factor, and unless you're aware of what is important to your customers, which part of the factors that build up your brand are important, how can you actually address them? Brand as a broad concept is not enough, because you can't actually action anything. There's no insight from just knowing what your brand is valued at and what people think of it. You need to understand what makes up that brand, the brand equity. When we run our surveys, we break it down, what does quality mean? And you need to dig deeper than that, because quality, again, like brand, is just a very generic name. So digging down to say, is it the timeliness of your service? Is it the cleanliness of your facility? It's really breaking it down, because all of those constructs build up quality. So quality as a generic statement is a bit hard to measure. Look at tools and put processes in place to constantly have that customer conversation, but also look at the market for tools that can help you do that research, so you can take it in either in-house or use a provider, but make sure you're having the conversation with your customers.